Hey, church family. Welcome back to our third Advent meditation in this Christmas season as we consider the things that Jesus brought with him when he arrived in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago. As we consider the world that we live in, it is a world filled with darkness. It is a world filled with despair. And as a result, it is a world that so obviously is lacking hope, yet longs for hope. But when Jesus arrived in Bethlehem 2,000 years ago, he brought with him hope that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. And to see that hope and to know why it is a true hope that the world so desperately needs, let's look at Isaiah chapter 9, verses 2 through 7. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who dwelt in a land of deep darkness, on them has light shone. You have multiplied the nation, you have increased its joy. They rejoice before you as with joy at the harvest, as they are glad when they divide the spoil. For the yoke of his burden and the staff for his shoulder, the rod of his oppressor, you have broken, as on the day of Midian. For every boot of the tramping warrior in battle tumult and every garment rolled in blood will be burned as fuel for the fire. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. On the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and to uphold it with justice and with righteousness from this time forth and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord of hosts will do this. Isaiah helps us to see that Jesus brings hope by defeating darkness. The hope that Jesus brings is not an empty one, nor a baseless one, but it is a hope that he brings by overcoming the very darkness that so much of the world lives in. And so the question for us is, how can we have hope in a dark world? And how can those who long for hope find it? And first, in verses 2 through 5, we see that hope comes to those in darkness. God did not just leave us in the darkness to figure it out on our own and to be without hope, but instead he entered into it, sending his son Jesus to take on human flesh, to be born as a child, to grow up, to live life as a human being, experiencing all that we experience, being tempted in every way that we are, being like us in every way, yet never sinning. And so God didn't disregard us in darkness, but offered us hope. And so for us as a people of hope, we don't have to live in denial as if darkness doesn't actually exist, but we can instead say we live in the light of the truth of Jesus, which is true hope in a dark world. Second, hope does not come through our own planning. Hope comes through a person. Verse 6 tells us that the way that God is going to conquer the darkness is through the sending of his son. Because verses 2 through 6 say the ways that the light is going to shine and the way that God is going to conquer. And verse 6 says, so these things are going to happen because unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given. God's plan to bring hope was through the person of Jesus Christ. And when we fix our hope on him by faith, we are a people who live in the hope that he brings. And third, hope comes through God's promise. In verse 7, we're told that there will be no end to his reign, but it will be eternal. And so we as a people who live in the hope that Jesus brings now do so because of the eternal promise that reign will never end. And the darkness that we see in the world will ultimately be overcome finally and for good. And we will live in the good, hope-filled, beautiful reign of Christ forever. And so as we consider the fact that Jesus brings hope in his arrival 2,000 years ago in Bethlehem, let's consider a few questions that we can meditate on this week. First, where am I tempted to place my hope apart from Jesus? Do I seek to find hope in relationships with other people, in financial security, in my health, or my professional success? All of these things can be good tools in life, sure, but they are not givers of hope that we need in a dark world. Only Jesus can do that. Second, how does the hope of Jesus overcome the darkness around me? There is no shortage of things that we can see in our lives and in the world that are evidences of the brokenness, sin, and darkness that so much of the world is shrouded in. Yet the hope of Jesus overcomes all of it. And so what darkness are you facing or seeing this week that the hope of Jesus can overcome? And lastly, who do I know is in darkness, who needs the hope that can be found in Jesus? Let's be a people who live as the light that overcomes the darkness, as we reflect the light of Jesus, and in so doing, offer hope to a world that so desperately needs it.